Welcome, everybody.
Hello.
Hello. Come on in and please tell us where you are in the world. I would love to know. And I know Sam is here and he would love to know, where are you in the world? And also, what are you writing? If you are one of the people who has submitted your query for a makeover, we're so excited. We got so many, and we're so excited to um, it was hard to choose which ones we're going to use to, uh, what's the word I'm looking for? To illustrate and a great query is. But we want to make sure that we get to most people. So if you have a question, put it in the chat. We're happy to stay around until we fall asleep. And let's see, I'm going to spotlight you for everybody, and I'm going to spotlight me for everybody. Can we, let's see, not spotlight. I'm trying to do the thing where, Sam, it's you and me. Now I have somehow spotlighted myself. Hold on. Let's see. Do you here, gallery? And then mostly we're going to, let's see, add pen and then now. Perfect. Okay. This is super. Welcome to Query Letter Makeovers. I am your co-host, Allison Lane. I am an author coach and a lifelong marketer and publicist, and I really love taking somebody's big idea and making sure that it's polished and ready for an agent or a publisher. And then that is how I met Sam Hyatt, CEO and founder of the Rights Factory mega literary agency, and based in New York and Toronto. Sam, say hi and thanks for being here.
Hi, everybody. Yeah, you can Google me. Unfortunately, most of it's true what you're going to find.
Yes. Powerhouse, legendary agent. Yes, all of that is true. You're way too chill for your own good. I mean, you know that it's true.
Be swapped out for green onion. You're like mini green onion.
Ooh, I'm hearing somebody. Hold on.
To us, I think that's somebody else. That's about something else.
Well, let's see. Everybody should be muted, so I don't think that was us. I think everybody's muted. Let's see. I'm going to click the thing that says mute everybody, just so I make sure that it's right. Participants. One. All participants mute all. Us. And there. Now I'm unmuted, and Sam, you're unmuted. Everybody else, sorry, you're on mute because we're going to be presenting and we have stuff to show you. So give me a second and I am going to share my screen and we are going to get into it. Share to do all the sharing things, advanced portion of screen. Yes. And here we go. So careful. The things we can do with technology now are baffling. Okay. Sharing screen. Can everybody see my screen? Yeah. Okay. Fabulous. All right. Well, welcome to Query Letter Makeovers. We're super excited that you're here and that so many books are getting into the world and that you keep advocating for yourself. We're here because we really want to help understand one of the tougher things to nail, the query letter. The query letter is super duper weird because it is a boiled down, simmered down balsamic glaze of your book in one pitch letter, one short pitch letter. And before we get into what it actually looks like, I'm going to ask Sam. Sam, can you walk us through what your experience with query letters is? How many do you get in a week, in a day? When do you look at them?
Yeah, our agency gets a lot, but me personally, I probably get between 10 and 30 any day. And
I'm sorry, I'm going to do the math. So you're getting 150 a week.
Let's call it 20.
Okay. That's a journalism degree, doing the math in my head, but that seems like a lot.
Am I speaking too quietly? Somebody just said, can we make me louder?
Oh,
Is
well,
that-
I
hear
am
me
louder
now?
than you are. See, you're so chill.
Can you guys hear me now? I'll try to speak up.
I think you just need to be closer to your microphone.
Okay, I'll do that. Anyway, yeah, let's call it 20 a day. And some of them, a lot of them, I just aren't interesting to me. So I just don't have time to even respond because I'm also doing my job and running an agency. But I do two things. Sometimes maybe one or twice a week, I'll get something interesting and I'll look at it myself and I'll save it. But what I do for the agency, because I've hired most of the people in our agency, the Rights Factory, I kind of know what they're looking for. So if something looks like it might be a good fit for one of my agents, I'll forward it to them and I'll say, what do you think? Or sometimes I put it on our agency internal Slack channels and I'll say, hey, anybody interested in this? And often, believe it or not, I'll get one or two or sometimes three agents who then form a queue to look at it. And then that way I'm trying to do all these writers that are pitching me a favor, because even if I'm not likely to look at it, it goes to the agency, which has now 15 agents other than me.
Wow. That is, first of all, incredible. Not many agencies do that. A lot of them say, if you don't hear from me in 12 weeks, feel free to query another agent at the agency, which is like, why bother even having an agency if you're not going to share? It's hard for people to understand how agents aren't in one building. They're not, they're doing their work remotely. They're essentially
we're completely work from home. We're completely remote. Everybody's there. There's an agent in Madrid. There's an agent in Paris. There's soon going to be 2 agents in the US, and then there's a bunch of us in Canada, and I think that's it.
Portugal too, right?
The Portuguese one moved to Madrid. She's
why wouldn't she? Easy sneezy. But I guess the thing is that each agent makes their living based on their commission. They don't get paid unless they sell a book. And
we go on that model. Every agency is different, but I'd say half of them work on a commission model.
Yeah. Well, I'm saying that importantly so that people know that you should not have to pay to query an agent ever, because they're in business to represent your book. You're essentially hiring them and they have to agree to work for you. And that
should be no fees whatsoever. That's a red flag if you ever see that.
Yeah.
Reading fee. There is a fine line, which is that the American Agents Association now allows agents who are, because they are commission based, to do editing, but what they can't do is they can't double dip. They can't edit a manuscript and then represent it unless they pay back the author what they paid them, because now they're an agent. So yeah, you can't charge and then use the inducement of being an agent to take it on.
So I often get emails saying, are you an agent or sometimes people send me their entire manuscripts. Can you read this over and let me know if it's worth hiring you? I'm not an agent. I help people ready their proposal and their sample chapters and their platforms and their digital assets, their websites, their essentially presence for publishing so that they could grow their career and make sure their story is heard and read and known. And then I help people find agents and match them up to the agents who I know are looking for them. There are not that many agents. I know it seems like there are so many. There are not. And when you do your digital detective work, which you should all be doing, and we're going to talk about a lot today, you'll start to see and notice that agents they want you to find them. They're only able to represent you when you find them. So they're not hiding, but they're freaking busy. Is that fair, Sam? I mean, you're doing this and you and I are not getting paid. We're like here hoping people can get their work into the world.
Well, it's because I mean every agent's a little different, but I also teach, so I believe in kind of educating people about publishing, about what we do, because then it's easier to for everybody if they know what the deal is. I'm notorious when I work with a client, I tend to give them like a reading list, and I kind of mentor them through the process because it's easier to walk somebody through a process of editing a manuscript or a proposal, let's say, if we're doing it together and they understand what they're doing rather than me. I wish I could be some kind of dictator and say, no, you have to do these things and go do them and come back. But I'm not good at that. I have to say, we're going to do this together. Let's talk about it. Here's what it's going to look like. And then because it's not my book, if it was my book, I could do that. So my whole thing is about, um, I want to give to the community that's kind of made me. I was a publisher before I was an agent, and I really respect what writers are trying to do, and I want to help them. So.
Wow. We're very glad that you do. Well, let's get into it here. Okay. Let's start from the beginning. What is a query letter? And in short, I'm just going to give you the structure first, because I want you to know what you're going to get here is, we're going to make sure that you understand the query letter and what makes a strong log line and actually what a log line is. We're going to talk about leveraging comps for a query and how comps can differ in a proposal, and then nailing the dismount, which is the end of the query. In short, a captivating query, and this is, I promise everyone who's here today and everyone who registered for this will get sent by me, from me, my query letter guide and template. It is fill in the blank. It is like Mad Libs. It's how I start every query. And on average, agents respond to queries that follow my format that are written by me in about a day. And the industry average is what, like 12 weeks or so, because people are busy. But just like you check your spam folder in your email to see if like maybe there's a coupon that you missed, or like an email from the PTA or from your kid's teacher, they always land in spam. Agents are always looking. They're always looking in their query folder, even though they're busy running their business. They look at queries between meetings, after hours, on the train, as they, are like binge watching Bridgerton for the 10th time. They're peeking to see, did like gold show up? Is something shining from my slush pile? And we want to make sure that you get that. So you will get sent that from me. But in large part, there are 5 paragraphs to a query. They're really bookended by itty bitty paragraphs, an intro, and then a paragraph that is about the premise of the book. And that has the title, the subtitle, the log line, and comparisons to other books or movies or TV shows. And the third paragraph is about the plot, what actually happens. And in nonfiction, there you still have a plot. There's still structure. We need to know what is in the book. And the fourth paragraph is your pro bio. That's all about you. Whatever you do, please do not say, I am a writer. We know that. We got to go bigger than that. And then a dismount. We want to land strong. We want to stick the landing. We don't want to sort of like milk toast it with, thank you so much for reading this, like blah, blah, blah. You're just taking up character count at that point. And so we're going to give a lot of input today, but I just wanted to start with that structure because I'm going to refer to it a lot. This is how I like them. Sam, how do you like to see your queries?
This works for me. I can give you a little bit more information.
You do respond to me same day, every time.
The intro part, that's true. The intro part to me is, why are you writing this agent? So in other words, why are you writing me? I want you to know. And depending on how you do that, already friendly towards you, or if it's weird, if you misspell my name or something, then I'm like, you don't even know who I am. The premise, I would say, so the intro is, why are you writing me? Or if it's from your point of view, why are you writing this agent? There has to be some reason. I noticed in the queries, some of you said, I noticed from your list, you did this book and that book. That's why I'm writing you. So that's good. You have to do your homework, and doing your homework shows to us that you have made an effort. Under premise, to me, that is a position in the market. So it's like, where does this book fit in the market? And I, as an agent, I like getting comparables first, because the comparables help me understand the universe and the tone that I'm going to read the rest of it with. So if you're going to say, actually, I'll use one that I've been pitching and everybody loves it. And I said, imagine a Law and Order SVU without Mariska Hargitay to take the point of view of the female character. And it's people that are saying, I don't know if I believe you or whatever. So in that case, what it is it's a kind of, everybody knows Law and Order SVU. And if they don't know who Mariska Hargitay is, then I make a point of explaining who she is. And then that is a great entry point in terms of, where does this book fit into the market? Well, if you know it's going to be a kind of legal story, and there's going to be cops involved and lawyers, and it's, so you already kind of know from that what it is. And to me, that's part of the premise. The plot generally for me is, you give us a character who's likable, and then you explain the escalating series of obstacles or conflicts they're going to have to deal with to settle the story, to get to the end. But you never tell the ending, because I notice some people give you the whole thing, and it's kind of a spoiler. Like, you kind of leave people hanging. You kind of get them into the story, and you kind of end maybe 2/3 of the way, saying, will they survive? So that it's like, they're going to do all these things. It's going to be tougher and tougher. The challenges increase, and then you kind of leave us hanging. And then the bio is always the same. Really, it's one question, which is, why are you the best author for this book? It's something like a memoir, you're the only author for the book. But I still want to know, why was the story compelling to you? What was it about your life that, how is your life connected to the story? Or if it's fiction, or if it's in another genre, what was it about the themes of that story that were exciting to you? What brought you to the page with any kind of emotion or vigor? And then the dismount. Allison, it's kind of your thing. I don't really need a dismount. I often fall off the horse. So,
Well, then those queries aren't written by me. That's all I'm saying. I think that there's a brevity that builds, that delivers clarity. And I'll point out why the dismount is so important, and why some people need to shift a couple words and remove a couple words, so that every word counts, even in that dismount. There's behavioral psychology related to how I write the queries, because a throwaway line like, thank you for your consideration, is, you might as well say yabba dabba do. It means nothing. So we want to always make sure that we're delivering something that is action based, and that the agent can picture. I look forward to talking with you is at least better than thank you for, it means I'm ready to talk. My complete proposal is available. I'm happy to send it over. Like, oh, okay, great. Then you're describing an action. Before we get into doing the play-by-play on queries, I want to point out that the thing that, Sam, you've said to me a lot is that you like pitches that are explained like Netflix shows. And I like the same thing. I often say, I want you to be able to explain your book in a breath, so that you nail it, and I don't have to ask any questions. Can you explain what you're looking for and what you mean by a Netflix show?
whether it's fiction or nonfiction, what I'm looking for is a story that um, essentially will capture a universal market. Like for Netflix to look at something, they want something, or they want the story to work in 60 languages, which they're in. In other words, some of my biggest books have been about, one was a story about a father and a son. Well, that's the whole world. Everybody's got a dad, whether you know, whether it's your biological dad or whatever, there's a dad. And in last year, I had a bestseller, More by Molly Roden Winter, which was a story of there it is, yeah. So it's the idea of having, as a married woman, having your cake and eating it too. And to me, that story was so interesting because I feel like in a lot of marriages, you reach a point where you have to negotiate, and the stakes keep getting higher. One of the things I learned from Molly is that people who often have affairs try to then move to an open marriage, but it doesn't work because the affair means that you're not telling the person everything. And if you want to have an open marriage that works, you need to be completely uh, open, and to try this ethical non-monogamy. So in almost all the books that I've done that were big, it was about relationships. It was about people, whether it was fiction or nonfiction. Um, so I'm looking for that thing, which is something that Hollywood looks for, which is I want something that'll go across the board in, let's say, 60 languages. Now, how many am I going to get? I can tell you for More, we now have 9 languages, so I'm excited. The book's only been out for a year and a bit.
Congratulations. And
It'll
to
probably get
Molly
money
too.
over time. Yeah, no, so you met her. I'm glad you were able to meet her.
Yeah.
But so that's something. And so when I say Netflix, I'm also looking at how the story is structured to make it dramatic. And often the best work that I do, especially for memoir, is somebody will write the story out the way it happened in the real world. But when you look at a film version or a TV version, they recut it to be dramatic, to capture your attention, and they give it that structure of a classic story with the escalating stakes and obstacles, so that once you're in, you like the character, you don't want to see them fail, and you stick around to see what happens. um and if you're telling the story because it's a real thing that happened to you, it's a memoir. If you're telling it from the beginning to the end in a linear chronological fashion, that may not be the best way to tell it. So one of the things that I often find myself doing more and more, in order to sell it to a publisher, is to recut somebody's life like a Hollywood film. And it's like a strange gift that I've got now after doing this for 30 odd years, but it's what I do. And if I believe that there's a film in story, then I'll say, I'll work with you on it. Let's do this to it. But again, I educate them. I'm not telling people what to do. I'm doing it with them, and we negotiate it. And then we have a story that is engaging or compelling to an editor. And then if I'm good, then there's a great deal. And then we have all the bonuses, which is not just the translations, but film and TV. And for an agent like me, it's not enough just to get a book sold here, because that's a very small deal. The English language is a big market in itself. But if I could just get a book published here, that's one thing. But if I get it in 10 languages or 20 languages plus a film and TV deal, there's several, it adds up to be a really good argument for doing the book, rather than, oh, this book came out in America, it sold 10,000 copies, and that sometimes that's it. Books are really, there's so many books, and a lot of them fail. And even if they don't fail because they've earned back their advance, they don't really, not every book is going to be a bestseller by definition.
I want to point out here that the log line for More, if you removed memoir and you just put story, it could be like a domestic suspense movie.
Totally.
And it's just like, oh, what happens? I mean,
what you're not seeing there because you don't have the comps, is that More, it was so accessible and funny and dirty that it read like Sex in the City, but real. And that was a big pull. People loved it. They loved the fact that she would be honest about the sex stuff. She was funny, and she was honest enough to not be embarrassed to withhold, like she didn't withhold anything. So it was like all there. And a lot of people just devoured it. They're like, wow, I can't believe she wrote this. We all do embarrassing things, but most of us don't really necessarily
yeah,
podcast it.
I'm going to share a couple of other examples, and then let's get into the query makeovers. I worked with Tracy Otsuka to put together her entire big idea to make it a proposal, whittle it down to the query, and then curate her agent list. She ended up getting agent responses in 17 minutes, 2 on the same day, 1 in 17 minutes while we were still talking on Zoom. She got offers on day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4, and then her book went to auction. And what I'm most proud of is that no matter who you are, the log line is elevated beyond what you would claim. So even though Tracy is an expert in ADHD, she didn't want to say expert, even though she freaking is. She usually, especially writers, they don't like to say that something is unprecedented or renowned or a must have, because we're all so like get along and, like a guide or a needed guide, but unprecedented felt so big. But that's the log line. That's marketing language. That makes it pop out. And so that is what works. And then here's Tracy with her book, and she couldn't even believe it. Her book ended up on very quickly on Amazon's best books of the year last year. And then also was, the Amazon editor went on national TV and talked about it. But let me show you this again. So the key words here are unprecedented guide, with ADHD, celebrate brilliance, and then journey of self-discovery. And every log line has something like that. The time we were looking at a book, whether it's fiction or nonfiction, there are keywords that pop out to us. The bookshop of second chances. Scott is a woman desperate to turn a new page. That's very flowery, but Scottish coast, battle of wills, utterly heartwarming, and there's a bookseller. I mean, when you get down to it, those keywords, no wonder the publisher jumped at that, because we could see it happening and unfolding. So I urge you, when we start walking through these queries, which we're going to start doing right now, think about what your book is about and the elevated sort of thematic universal theme level. I read everyone's query who sent them in, and a lot of you are nailing it. A lot of you are skipping this part. And I've rewritten a few, and then we'll go through. And anybody who has questions, certainly put them in the chat. Before we get into anything, Sam, do you want to say anything else before I pull up the first one?
I read them too, and I wanted to say that a lot of them are read a little long, in that they were long in the middle, meaning that instead of having like a quick, how you've separated the premise from the plot, they kind of went on with like away from the premise and the plot, and that's not what you want in the middle. You kind of want us to go, you want to leave us wanting more. It's like you want somebody reading it saying, oh, because the idea of the query is like sending a cover letter and resume to get the job interview. So it has to be just enough to say, oh, there's enough here. I want to talk to this person about this job. And for me, it's like, oh, this is intriguing. They haven't told me the ending, which I would say, well, why would I read no, I wouldn't say that. But why would you read the book if you knew the ending? But
yeah,
there has to be something intriguing about it that that kind of makes me look at it when I'm getting so many of these things, and it's already interrupting my day because I'm also working for my clients and having meetings and doing other stuff. So
yeah. And when I was scanning them, my eye is darting around looking for the information that I need in order to envision what the book is. And if there are too many words, or if I'm having to bounce around to collect, like there's a little premise up here, but also down here, and then there, like the information isn't grouped for me, it makes it too hard. And sometimes all you need to do is like pull it apart and put it back together again in a different way. And that's what we did with the query here, This Dark Collapse by Marusha Hook. So this query is a dystopian. It's 91,000 words, and this is the query that came in. And Marusha, if you're on, just holler or wait or something in the chat, because we'll have you on. But first, let me point out what's great about this. And I removed the intro part. I'm seeking representation for. I'm going to talk about how Marutha, she's here. How to start this with like a power start, and I'll show you the revision in a second. And yeah, a 91,000 word YA dystopian novel with crossover appeal. I don't think we need crossover appeal here, because you're going to explain that when you say it offers this element of Marie Lou's Sky Hunter, which I loved. I'm a YA dystopian junkie. That is my nighttime eye candy. And also Taheri Mfi's Shatter Me. The story stands alone, but offers clear series potential. So you see, we don't need crossover appeal and stands alone and series potential. That's it. My understanding, Sam, is that series potential is nice, but unless the first book sells, the publisher, everything has series potential. So do you need to hear that? I'm not sure.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of query instructors say add it in, but if book sells, that they'll come to you with a series. A lot of years we pitched a book series, which is even better. But yeah, I mean, this is a category that I don't know as well as you, Allison, so I'm just going to go with it.
Okay. Well, I don't represent fiction, but I can write the heck out of a query. So here's what I see is this first paragraph is the premise paragraph, and it's a little light. I'll show you in a minute what I mean. And then the second and third paragraphs should really just be one. So the first one, I think I separated them. 17-year-old Mina serves on the Night Watch, defending Goldhaven from the demons that prowl its walls. Secretly, she dreams of escaping to the mountains where her grandparents once lived, but desertion is punishable by death. All of that is backstory. So nothing has happened yet. So I'm still waiting for what's going to happen in this book. I have no idea yet. When her patrol partner is killed, Mina stumbles upon Ramiel, which feels like that's when it starts. A blinded winged boy with no memory beyond his name. He is one of the bioengineered slayers created to eliminate demons and silence dissenters like her. Again, you're providing context and backstory, but I'm thinking, what's the next plot point? She finds them, and then what happens? If it was on Netflix, what would the next scene be? And that's probably a better way to put together any query is to bullet out what your plot points are. Even if they're internal, decisions, that could be a plot point. Or, this happened, so which meant that this other thing happened. Or this happened, but that caused. What's that?
When they're reversals, that's always good to note. They think they're doing this, and then they find out that they've been mistaken the entire time. Little twists like that are good to put it in with too much detail.
Right. Every plot should lead to something else, not this happened and this happened so that this happened. Do you see what I mean? It's ever A plus B and then C. It's A happened, so this other thing got in the way. And so that's what I was looking for here. Mina stumbles on Remy. She strikes a risky deal. She'll help him heal and hide if he helps her escape. Remiel's keeping his secret growth harder because slayers begin hunting them both. Okay, that's the third plot point. Slayers begin hunting them. Then demons breach the city from within, which, okay, I'm not sure how she's involved. Mina uncovers terrifying secrets. To survive, she has to make a decision. And then, like Mina, I'm a Bangladeshi American Muslim, though my battles are waged on the page. I thought that was cute. I'm a Futurescapes and Inked Voices alum living in the Bronx, where I write speculative fiction rooted in resilience and heart. Outside of writing, I'm usually lost in libraries testing spicy South Asian fusion recipes or crocheting cupcakes, which is so interesting. And I like the interesting. The interesting is, otherwise it's just like blah, 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 blah. I breathe and I also like to eat and sleep. We need you to throw a little bit of your personality in the pro bio, even when you're an expert in your field and you're writing nonfiction or narrative nonfiction and you're a historian. Throw us a little. I mean, do you have a pet? Something. Okay, and then the dismount. Thank you for your time and consideration. Okay, so I rewrote this. And so it's shorter and it starts with, I'm seeking representation for this dark collapse, a young adult dystopian novel, crossover appeal, complete at 91,000 words for fans of Marie Lu Sky Hunter duology and the Shatter Me series. So it's a hair shorter, this intro. I would love it if it also said, if it pointed out what elements of Sky Hunter and what element of Shatter Me that your book is like. Like if it was the lone, righteous protector in Sky Hunter and the fast pace dark world of Shatter Me. I mean, that way what you're doing is sneaking two more elements that describe your book, but you're also saying these elements were in that, and I'm going to give them to you. So you're missing an opportunity when you don't point out the elements that can be seen in whatever you're using as your descriptors. Yes, this.
To finish that thought, Allison, what we'd like to see is that you qualify it. If you give us comps that are too big, we don't really know exactly what you're talking about, how your story connects to them. But if you qualify it by saying what you said, if it's about the personal relationships in this thing in the world, the dark world of this one, then it's easier to picture what you're talking about. You can frame the story that you're then about to summarize because you understand the world and the dynamics of it.
Yeah, well said. Thank you. So this, the plot paragraph I cut into two because I didn't want to see a wall of words, but I felt like we needed to set the scene and then dive into what is it about Mina without giving, saying this happened, far, and now you're all caught up. So 17-year-old Mina lives in the walled city of Goldhaven after demons took over the world decades ago. Mina dreams of escaping to the mountains, safe from demons, but for a night watch like her who hunts invading demons each night, that dream is punishable by death. So all I did was order the phrases you were already using, but this seems tighter. After a demon kills her patrol partner, Mina comes across a blinded, winged young man. He has no memory other than his name, and he's charged with killing demons and dissenters like her. So she makes him a deal to recover his sight under a guise. He will help her escape Goldhaven, and then there's the ensuing plot points. So this is at least a little bit tighter so we can see what happens, plot, and we can sort of imagine what it would look like on screen. Because that books are essentially movies that we're reading. We're all imagining them in our heads. So before I move on, Marufa, do you have any questions? Are you here? And can I see you?
You said hi earlier.
Yeah, you said hi. I don't see. If you have any questions, we can hop back to it. The next one here is, let's see. You know what? I think I did. I think I showed you this twice. Okay. So actually, didn't you guys stop me? Okay. I think I revised this twice, but this is the better one. This dark collapse, dystopian novel with crossover appeal, resonate with fans of this and that. So we didn't need to say things over and over again. But it's actually becomes 379 words instead of, it was in the 400s before. And by and large, I like it when queries fit it all on one page, Times New Roman, double space. And I don't like any paragraph that's, personally, I don't like any paragraph that's longer than 6 lines because our eyes just blur. Short sentences, and I caution from starting any sentence with a dependent clause because it's like backing into a parking space. You're like, I know we're going to get there, but you're telling me something first before I know where we're going. And so that usually works with the spoken word, but the written word, when you're trying to persuade, it's hard. It's hard for the reader because it's like, you're telling me something before I need to know it. I'm going to move on since time's a clicking. Okay. I know this is a lot of words, but I want to point out this is Memoir and it is called Ruthless. And if this is, yes, Barufa, I'm so sorry. Yes, the second one was your submission. Good, that'll be helpful. Marcy asks, double space the entire letter. When I'm writing them in a Google Doc or a Word doc, I double space them so I can see everything. Eventually, the query letter is going to be copy and pasted into an email, just plain text, or copy and pasted into a query tracker, query manager form, which is essentially a Google form. So double space, yes, because it lets you edit. And I say double space because when you have one page double space, that's how long, that's my rule for how long a query should be. It's nice when it's a hair shorter. If it has to go longer, there better be a really good reason why, is what I say to myself. So, Ruthless. This is Ruthless, A Journey Through Japan and America to Find Home, is a 62,000 word coming of age story of a young woman navigating between cultures. Now, with this one, what I did is I highlighted the words that became keywords because I had to read it this 3 or so times in order to figure out what the plot points were. Let me explain. Born to American Mennonite missionaries in post-World War II occupied Japan. Okay, already I'm like, we're backing into that parking space. Like,
Oh, that's a mouthful.
What's that?
That's a mouthful.
Well, it's a lot, and it's backstory, right? Like, I get it, but also, where are we going? Ruth lives 2 lives, outwardly conforming to her parents' strict religious rules, while inwardly yearning for freedom. We don't need outwardly and inwardly. We know that. At 14, she leaves her secure childhood home and Japanese friends in northern Japan so all of that is, there's just extra words. Do we need childhood home? We know she's 14. Do we need secure? No. You could just say she goes off to boarding school in Tokyo. At 18, she launches across the Pacific. Does that mean she's on a boat? Just as the women's liberation movement and Vietnam War protests from the 1970s are upending American society, and lands at a conservative Christian college in Virginia. Aside from this is a really long sentence, the sequence of events are not, like, the tenses don't match, I think. And so it was like a little jostling. isolated by culture shock and inability to relate to American peers. So I think you guys are probably seeing what I'm seeing. There's like a lot of like dependent clause that explains what is about to be shown as a plot point. Ruth struggles to find her footing. That sentence isn't a plot point, so I don't know what is actually happening. Her parents have a restrictive vision of womanhood, and that clashes with her. That's another sentence where there's no plot point. We just can imagine. It's almost like you're summing up what the result was, but we want to know what the clashes were. I'm going to skip ahead. So she has a breakdown, begins therapy to process her feelings of abandonment and neglect. And after her marriage and teaching career unravels, she returns to Japan to retrace her childhood roots on a solo bicycle journey. What? Solo bicycle journey across Japan? You are hiding the nuggets, which eventually lead to self-acceptance and embracing her dual identity. After her parents' death, she uncovers new information that shatters her understanding of her brother's death. What? Her brother died? Also, you're burying the plot points that are really critical, right? And then we have down here more premise information. This personal narrative will appeal to readers of memoirs addressing identity, faith, mental health, and finding home. So, and then there are four books listed as comps, which is too many. But I want you to just roll back and look at how many themes are used in this book or in this query. It's over a dozen, and it's too many. It's like we need to make more choices. So I have a suggestion. Okay, this is big picture, and I rewrote your subtitle. So the subtitle was A Journey Through Japan and America to Find Home. I changed it. Ruthless, a memoir of faith, feminism, and finding home. A bicultural daughter of American missionaries in post-World War II Japan faces isolation, culture shock, and buried family secrets as she journeys across continents and decades, culminating in a solo bike ride across Japan to reclaim her identity and finally find home on her own terms. So I boiled it down, but I had to pull it apart to identify what the plot points were. And that's my process. And I continued, and I just wanted to point out that there's a nicer way to start an intro, to say, like, I was excited to see your post about memoirs that explore belonging across culture. I thought you'd connect with my 61,000 word memoir. And then here's the tip. I like to hint at the genre in the intro so that the first line of that premise paragraph starts with the title and the subtitle. Instead of, I am querying you because, which they know. I like, this is just, it makes it so that right out of the gate, they're like, oh, dang, I get it. Ruthless, because her name is Ruth. I'm connecting the dots. A memoir of faith, feminism, and finding home explores the cost of obedience, the silence around grief, and what it means to belong. And then this is what I mean when I say two comps where you're pointing out elements. It delivers the raw, personal reckoning of Speak Okinawa with the layered cultural tension of the translator's daughter. That's how this allows you to, in this first, major paragraph, the premise paragraph, you're able to deliver 5 themes, 3 in the first sentence and 2 in the second. And by making those selections and not packing more in the rest of the query, you're being more clear about what the book is about and the big picture. Sam, what do you think?
So this is a good example. When you asked me earlier what I mean by Netflix, I would frame this story as opening with Ruth later on in life embarking on this bicycle journey. And then the great thing is you have the metaphor for traveling through Japan, but really it's a journey into the past. It's a kind of exploration into how I got here. And if you're really kind of clever in how you structure it, the way that you do it is that as the story in the present, um, as you're moving, you run into questions that can only be answered by going back into the past. So you have really strategic flashbacks so that we understand who this person is through the combination of geographical movement and movement in time. And we can see the different incarnations of her and how she becomes the combined present day, evolved person that she is.
Yeah, that bicycle ride. I mean, just let's go back and look at it. It was itty bitty. Where was it? Way down here. I mean, that's the hook of it, right? I mean, I want to take, well, I want to watch you take that ride.
There's a lot of time. Like it goes from her being a little girl to being much older in that bicycle ride. And the thing is, I often do this with people that when I'm working with Memoir is that writing 100 years from 100 pages from when you were 6 or 7 years old isn't really relevant. What people want to know is they want to know what's the problem that the adult version of you is engaged with. And then you only go back in the past if it's necessary. Otherwise, there's usually enough there to keep people reading to see the present day conflict.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Sam, somebody asked in the chat about your query submissions. You request a query, a bio in the first 3 chapters. Does that mean a separate bio or the bio that's part of the query?
Yeah, we mean it as the part of the query because, and I want to explain to you guys why we do that. It's because we don't count on you guys. Not everybody can have Allison do their queries. So we're assuming that you may be a brilliant writer, but you may be a mediocre query letter writer. So if there's something compelling about the query, we might still look at it, even if we're like, well, this is an average query, but maybe there's something there because there's something, the way that Allison found the bicycle journey, for example, hidden. Sometimes you just scan it. You say, what is this thing? But you can see, I said earlier that I thought a lot of these queries were overwritten, and you can see the example by Allison trimming it down and distilling it to its essence. That is a much better query because it makes us curious rather than if you try to overstate the point and you go on and on paragraph after paragraph of how great the book is or what it covers. You could lose it quite easily.
Mm-hmm. Let's see. Yeah. So I rewrote essentially the log line and then the start. But I did, and I rewrote the whole thing, but I did get it down to 370-ish words because there was a lot going on. And I probably, once I get a query where it's almost in shape, I like to remove words like I'm removing pieces from a Jenga tower. Like it's going to be beautiful and strong and unique, and it's not going to fall apart. It's going to be freaking awesome. And that's how I like to see it. So that's my process. And, Sam said, I can't write everybody's query. I love doing some queries. And let me put, because I know that I am a query ninja. Thank you. Yay. This is my joy in life, is to take someone's idea. No one here should have to be an expert in book proposals or queries or writing your website. I'm an expert in all of that, and I would give myself a B+. But I'm better than everybody I know because I do it every day. But you only have to get one agent for the one book that you're querying. So don't kick yourself. Sam and I were talking earlier, and he said, I don't expect people to be able to write the perfect query letter. Not that there is one, but that's not your job. That's why we're here to do this. You can, though, join. I have a monthly membership. It's low cost. It's $37 a month, where I Q&A and answer questions, and people share what they know. And there's a vibrant Facebook community. I call it the next chapter because everybody's planning their next chapter. It's what everyone says. Really need to figure out what this is going to be and how my next chapter is going to go. Well, start here. And it's monthly. You can join and in and out or stay a month or a year. Let's see. I want to make sure that people know, hopefully you do, about Publishers Marketplace. Publishers Marketplace is an industry website. It is free. It is a database of all the deals and
It's not free. The publisher's lunch is free.
well, it's right. The Publisher's Lunch is free. The Publisher's Lunch newsletter, everyone should be getting. You could go to publishersmarketplace.com and there will be a section that says sign up for Publisher's Lunch. It will give you the daily deals newsletter that describes each deal in like just a tidbit, and just scan them, read them. It's free and it's so amazing. What you're really looking for is how brief the descriptions are and how much you get from 13 words, maybe 20 words of what the book is about. And Publishers Marketplace, if you want to pay for it, it's $25 a month. You can search for agents or editors or publishers there. And you can, if you want a year subscription, you could do that, or you can just do 1 month and then unsubscribe. So it makes it easy for you.
I want to do a plug for it. Is that what you're showing down there? Is the query matcher?
Yes.
Okay, yeah. Then you go ahead. I was going to mention it, but
Well, no. I mean, you can search for. They just added new search terms and new search engine, which is great. But you can search for deals by, book deals or agents by theme, by keyword, by year, by genre. It's pretty darn amazing. And it really helps you identify what are the publishers or who are the editors at the publishers who are acquiring this type of book. And you can actually reverse engineer which agents are they buying from. And that's how you curate your list. So you can curate your own list in an afternoon, or you can have me do
I'll
it.
mention this last thing. I think you're missing it, Allison. There's a new feature that they call now, which is called Agent Matcher. And the reason why your logline is so important is if you get the right logline and you type it into Agent Matcher and you type in exactly what you got, it will go through the entire database and say, these are 10 agents that are likely to like this.
Yes, that's new.
Agent Matcher is a great feature. It's in the paid version. People have found me during that because of the memoirs that I've done. And it says, Sam does these kinds of memoirs. You might like your memoirs. So then they'll get and that means a lot to me because it means the entire kind of back database, of Publishers Marketplace, which is hundreds of thousands of deals done in the last 20 years, have said, this guy's a good fit, so I'm likely to say, hey, maybe there's some kind of AI at work here. So I'll take a look at it.
Right. And I have used that. I tend to put the keywords and the key phrases in rather than the entire log line because I don't want the search engine to be searching for, prepositions. I want it to be super, I only wanted to give it the fuel it needs. So that's why I do that. And then I add keywords.
Somebody asked about a logline. Do you want the definition of where it comes from? I don't know what exactly they want. I can explain where it comes from.
Go ahead.
So the word logline comes from Hollywood, where when a script came, it would get logged in the producers or the whoever's reading it. It would get logged. We got the submission, and the line was they had one sentence to describe what it was. So it was a log line. It was a line that came with the log for the script.
That's amazing. I didn't know that.
Yeah. So they still use it, even though I have a funny anecdote. Like our agency used to produce a film and TV catalog where we would create very filmic descriptions of the books. We would not use, most agents use the Amazon description or the publisher's catalog description, but we would rewrite it, and we would go online and do Google images, and we'd find like the right worlds the book, like this is the world, and we would find actors to be the characters and make it look like if this were a film tomorrow, this would be the selling thing of the film, not the book. And we would come up with these log lines. And so what somebody said, we loved your catalogs, but now all of the film and TV companies have AIs that generate the log lines in a microsecond. They generate their own. So even if you're doing it, it doesn't matter. We're going to generate our own. The AI is going to read the script or the novel and then say, this is the story, because it's being programmed by the producers to look for certain things.
Mm. That is super. I mean, the AI has really taken over, but I caution people, don't put your whole manuscript into AI.
Yeah, that could be dangerous.
Yeah, I mean, you don't know where it goes or who then owns it. Is it the collective consciousness? So there are a host of things that are wrong with that. But your proposal and the elements that go to for your proposal, certainly you can pop into AI, or you can pop your title or your premise into AI and ask it to tighten things up. You're to write with, more concisely if you want. I like to use my AI like an intern that doesn't take lunch. It's not, and it does as good a job as I give it directions. Yeah.
I had a great writer who explained to me how, because part of her job in Silicon Valley is using an AI, that she used it to develop the query for me. And one of the questions she sent me was, I want to approach Sam Hyatt for my query. How should I do it? And then it said, these are all of Sam's books. And then it said, try this and try this. He likes this, because it found every interview that I'd ever done, and even our podcast and everything that was online about me. And it said, try these things. So it was really clever. I didn't realize the AIs could do that, but she did it. She got me with a great query that the AI wrote for her.
She probably used the ChatGPT, the deep research option, which,
Yeah,
in a matter of seconds, it could do that.
Job, so she used that.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
I was tricked.
Yeah, you were tricked. Or it just saved her time, Yeah.
Somebody wrote something interesting here. I would say if you have a good quote, don't make it too long, because, Allison and I both agree that should be a page, but you could put that quote in there to give it a little more credibility, especially if you're a debut author.
Yeah. Let's see. Here's a question. I have a misconception. If the log line is about themes, I was told not to focus on themes in the query, but save the word count. How crucial is it to add the log line? And is the log line about plot or theme? The log line, it goes into the premise paragraph. It's big picture. What is this book about? And it could hint to plot. Like, let me roll back to
it's a one-line summary of the story that is compelling, basically.
Right. But see, this log line, an intimate memoir of love, desire, and personal growth, we could have stopped there. And then it adds in plot at the end of that sentence, but it condenses probably the entire query to Sam, which I haven't seen, but still, I imagine, into one juicy balsamic glaze. It's perfect. It's boiled down. It's been simmering. And that is, that is the essence of what the book is. I think if your query isn't talking about the text of your book and it just dives into plot, you're missing the opportunity to explain why your book is needed. Even if you're writing a children's book, what is this book about? Why should we care? Why does it connect all of us? You only need a few words to say that. This book is about belonging or identity or making friends. Oh, really? It's about making friends? Well, what happens in the book? The plot is the second thing we want to know. But if somebody asks you what your book is about and you say it's about a little boy who needs to go to school and find friends, like, oh, okay, you went right to talk about yourself, but people want to know, how can I connect to it? Oh, it's about how hard it is to make friends when you're new in a school. Like, oh, that happened to me. What happens in the book? A little boy moves to the city and has to go and doesn't speak the language so much and has to learn how to make friends in an entirely new place. Like, wow, that I like that. Let's dive in. But giving context first connects people. And that's why themes first. Great question from Joelle. What about starting a query with a tiny suspenseful scene, maybe 2 or 3 sentences? There's an escape from a cabin during a blizzard in my memoir. Sam?
It works for me. That's how very Hollywood.
I think that there's a way to do that without taking up too much space. I mean, there's an escape.
You still want to have the premise, right? This is the
Right.
plot.
You still want to have the premise, and that's plot. But you could certainly, add a line of dialogue or a line of action, put it in italics. But you do then have to explain what the heck is happening in
I would argue that if you're opening with that scene, then the book should open with that scene because it's Hollywood.
right. We want to see the plot in the order that it reveals itself. So if that's how the book opens, then sure, yeah.
Yeah, otherwise it'll be confusing.
All right. Let's see. Sam, you talked about the quote or blurb from a successful author. Does it belong in the query letter?
I would keep it really short. So if you have a full paragraph, just maybe use not more than maybe 1 sentence, but even less. Like this author called this book brilliant or whatever. And then what you want is when you get into the manuscript, then you put it probably on the front page, say, here's a quote from it. But the real estate is so valuable in that query letter that you only want to get enough to say, oh, this person likes the book. That's really all you're going to do. You don't need, if you have a long quote and it's a full paragraph, that could be half of your query space.
Right. And make sure that it adds to your credibility. If it's a successful author, but it doesn't, they're not so well known, or, if they're like out of the park and it's an advance endorsement, you could say, I have an advance endorsement and she has agreed to write the foreword. I mean, give us a little, because the publisher is going to want to know, why are you giving this to me? Are they going to be going, doing interviews with you, or are they really so well known and they have a big email list? Have they agreed to lend you their, like you can guest blog for them? It begs questions, I think. Oh, Summer Custer. Hi, Summer. Should memoir queries be in first or third person?
I've seen them both, and I like first person, but I think sometimes people are nervous, so they do it in the third person. It doesn't matter to me. I mean, if I like it, I'm gonna jump to the manuscript. That's why we ask for the first 3 chapters.
Mm-hmm. And Summer, I tend to write them in both and then compare them and see what. Sometimes the action is easier to convey in third person because you're then writing about a character, because you're not writing about yourself anymore. You're having to, you're a little bit removed, and that's the way the book will be described on retailer sites anyway. So I usually start there, and then if I feel like it's still missing something, I create the other version and I do a comparison. Robin, what's an example of a good dismount? All right, are you ready for it? This is going to be in the template that I send you. A good dismount is so short and sweet, and I pulled one up. I have so many to show you, but I pulled one up, and it's just short and sweet. It's as requested. My 3 chapters are pasted below, because a lot of times when you're submitting your query, the agent does not want an attachment, because that is how they welcome viruses into computer systems. So they'll say, cut and paste your query and your entire proposal or your entire 3 chapters into the email. So you'll remove all the formatting because it just jacks up the stain anyway. But in the query, you'll say, as requested, my first 10 pages or my complete proposal and first 3 chapters are pasted below. I look forward to speaking with you. And then warm regards, Allison, 1-800-867-5309, which is a joke. That is not my phone number. But raise your hand if you know
That's
who
the
it
song.
is.
That's the
Yeah.
song.
That's right. Because you want them to leave them with, wow, they're willing to talk. Great. It's friendly and it's not beggy. It's not like, I hope to hear from you. I mean, would you ever go on a date and just say, thank you for your consideration? Like, no, can't wait to talk to you about it, or can't wait to see you again. You forecast what's next, I guess, is what I like to do. Circling back to the endorsement, Amy says, is guest blogging on a well-known author's site info you would include in a book proposal itself, and then you could discern email list. Amy, I'm gonna say, if you're guest blogging on someone's site, you essentially are Hold on, let me stop sharing for a second. When you have in your proposal or in your query, you are essentially explaining not just your the circle of people that you have access to, so your email list or your Instagram followers, and not just followers but engagement. If your platform, gag me with that word, is because you have 5,000 followers on Instagram, not only will you have to show the numbers, but you will have to take back-end screenshots to show engagement and that you didn't buy those numbers. So that's one. And the other thing about the proposal is that you want to be able to show that you have access to audiences that you don't own. Which is, if you're guest blogging for someone else and they have a big list, yes, I would include that. I would include a list of the people you are reasonably certain will in some way support your book with their efforts to their email list or on their social, or they'll host an event, especially if they have access to audiences that should know about you, but don't yet. So for instance, if you're a family therapist who focuses on friendship skills, but you have a friendly relationship with a novelist who writes about friendship, that's a crossover. The readers of that author's books should know about you, but don't already. That's what I'm talking about. So short answer, yes, but that definitely, that I cover that and how to do that with my book proposal template, which is again, Mad Libs. And I cover that in a course I call Rock Your Book Proposal, but it's really big idea to book proposal. And if anyone still needs a proposal just for this group, I will send you a 50% off code that you can use. It starts in June. It's 4 weeks. You'll have a proposal that you're proud of by the end, and it works. What can I say? What other questions? Oh, Amy, you have podcasts and major publications too? Yes, those should be in there. Make sure in your proposal you include screenshots and logos. Let's see. Marufa says, is it okay to have a comp that's older than 5 years? In the query, yes. In the proposal, no. Sam, can you talk about the difference? And we were talking about this earlier.
When you're querying somebody, you're trying to get an agent's attention. You're not trying to do the calculation of the book. And when we come up with comps for an agent takes you on and sends it to a publisher, what we're trying to do is make the publisher's job easier by finding big selling books that legitimately compares to the book that your book, so that they can essentially, we want to make their job as easy as typing in those sales numbers from those books. And the more recent the comps, the more possible it is that your book will be a bestseller, because those comps are recent and kind of still in the zeitgeist or trending or working in the market. Whereas if you give somebody a book that's really old, like, that doesn't mean anything in the current marketplace. So what you're trying to do is instill a sense of currency and interest to the editor, because what you're hoping is when they type in your comparables, they automatically get the numbers of how many books that they sold. And that's what you really want. That editor is trying to make a case for the book. And if the numbers come out positive, then they're more likely to make an offer to publish the book. Whereas if the comps are very old or they didn't sell well, you're doing yourself a disservice, because now you're trying to make a case that this book won't sell.
Is that helpful, folks? Yeah. Okay. I'm seeing nodding. Okay. We have gone way over, and I need to put Sam to bed in Toronto. I'm in Boston. Um, I'm so glad that you're showing up for yourself, and you're, follow Sam and the Rights Factory
on
on Instagram.
It's just the Rights Factory. You can see what we're up to, and if there's any chance to interact with us, some of our agents are offering things. I'm always speaking and doing stuff. Yeah, thank you.
I'm
So
at Allison Lane
speak well.
Lit everywhere. Listen to my podcast, The Author's Edge. If you have a question for me that you want me to answer on The Author's Edge, like, what should my comps be for this query? I urge you to freaking reach out. I'm a real person. I answer the questions if you ask them. Otherwise, I just fly by the seat of my own whim, and I really, really want to see your work in the world. Thank you so much to the people who shared their query. I'm sorry we didn't get to all of them. I think we talked about a lot. And some of them, you guys, they're so, so good. They're so good. Your queries are so much better than 98.9% of everything out there. The dribble that I'm sure Sam sees, like, hi, agent, spelled wrong. Stop the presses. This is your next bestseller. I mean, I'm not even an agent and I get those.
Yeah. The next bestseller thing always bugs me. I'm like, it's hard enough to get one bestseller. Like, what, so to promise that off the bat is a little strange.
Well, and it's like, here it is. Let me know if you're interested. Like, it's not even a query. It's just like the reason the query is so important is because you are answering every question that the agent is going to have before they have it. And if you leave something unanswered or you share too much and then they're trying to discern what's important, then it's a no. And we know that a no from an agent is a no on that project. You can't go back a month later and say, I've rewritten my query. They're like, moved on. So you got to get it right. Let's see. Catherine says, do you help with Kidlit queries and manuscripts? Yes, I do. In fact, I'm doing a workshop for SCBWI and their discoverability and visibility workshop on June 21st. And I'll share that when I send out your goodies tomorrow. And Catherine, hey, get in touch. If I don't know if I can't do it, I'll refer you. And I'm happy to stick around. My husband's traveling, and so I'm allowed to stay up. Although I've been up since 4:45. What is wrong with me? Does anyone know?
I don't know what's wrong. I got to go to sleep. I got a big day tomorrow, but thanks for everybody for staying up. And again, follow the company. I don't really do much of my own social media. I'm too old for social media, but the agency is not. And thanks, Allison, for having me. Good luck, everybody. Keep refining your queries. Eventually, you'll get some attention.
There is a home for every book.
Yes.
Your book has a home. There's always a way. And this is,
I'm gonna go. See you guys.
yeah, yeah. It's easy to get frustrated when you think, I don't think that I have it right, but there's always a way. Sometimes your query just needs a different eye, and it doesn't have to be my eye. It could be an accountability partner. It could be, an editor or even a local writing group, just someone to you walk through it with. And if they can point out, like, here's where you lost me, wait, take that input and then revise. And then, ask somebody a question. You can send it to me and I'll answer your question on the author's edge. Or join the Next Chapter Network where, you can get my attention throughout the month. And we have live events twice a month on Zoom, obviously. Let's see. Marufa, I will send you the query that developed for you, and Ruth, same. And let's see. Summer, I really liked your query, and I flagged it for Sam, but he didn't get to. We didn't get to talk about it. Jesse says, is it okay to have 3 comps or stick to the standard 2? In your query, it can get confusing if it just feels extra. There are a couple ways to present your queries. It offers this element of book A and this element of book B, or you could say it's a mashup of these 2 things. When you add in a book C, it's almost like they just don't need it. The thing that Sam didn't talk about is that one of your comps in your query can be a TV show. It could be The West Wing meets The Wizard of Oz, because we just need to know what we're getting into, or it could be a movie, the book. The book doesn't have to be recent. It could be older. We're just trying to set the stage. We're trying to get people really ready. Let's see. Jackie says, you mentioned to not talk about your book as having series potential in the query. So should you not use a series as your comps? No, you could, by offering a comp that is a series, you're essentially already saying that your book is like that. So you don't have to say it twice. So that I would leave out the part of this has series potential, because it's often obvious, especially if your comp is a series. Or even if your comp is a book within a series, you wouldn't even have to say the whole series. Juliet says that's what my query does. The book comp relates to a theme, and a TV series is the setting. There's something in the way. And the TV series is the setting. Got it. Jesse, is this also might be something you customize for agents who say they are looking for series potential? I mean, the thing is, every agent wants to sell more than one book. Why wouldn't they? But they can't sell a second book unless the first book sells. Publishers don't tend to offer a deal on a series. They like to see that the first book takes off, and then suddenly books 2, 3, and 4 are needed urgently. So I would focus on making sure that the first book is The Cat's Pajamas, and you won't even have to mention it. They'll mention it to you. Oh, I think this has series potential. Like, damn straight it does. Of course it does. See why it says, to get help on my query, do you have a flat rate? Yes, I do. You can email me, and I'll send you a link. It's Allison@lanelit.com. It's $500 for an for a session, and in a session, I can rework your query, your whole thing, not just I think you said your plot paragraph. We could do your whole thing, the whole query inside of an hour. I put this whole presentation together in less than an hour. I'm faster than lightning. It's true. So Laura's like, it's true. Yes. Hi, Laura Vita. Yeah, there's a reason. The thing is, too, keep in mind that oftentimes people write their query first, but they skip the proposal. The proposal part is where you do the digital detective work to find the really good comps and identify the audiences that are bigger and wider than you think. So the query is it's like a boiled down version of the proposal. And the proposal, even when you're writing fiction, it's the overview, the synopsis, a bio that's meant for marketing. It's not your bio of here's where I went to school and I took these classes. It's some power statements and marketing language. And also that audience segmentation is so important. Every book should have 5 distinct audiences, 3 primaries and 2 secondaries. And those 5 should not overlap, because what the publisher does is they look at the audiences and how big they are, because it's your job to quantify how large the audiences are. They add them up, they put them into their algorithm and run the numbers, what the probability of what percentage of this audience, whole audience, will likely buy this book. And that is how they forecast the sales potential of your book. So if your audience segmentation is too small, you are going small. And it's my job to make sure you go bigger and think bigger. Say, would you wait to query a memoir until the proposal is polished, or take the extra time to update and make Robin, what's the question? Would you wait to query a memoir until the proposal is polished when the book is already polished, or take the extra time and make the proposal flawless? Robin, are you still here? There you
Yeah.
are.
Yes.
Robin, what's your question?
So I'm only asking because I created a proposal a couple of years ago. It went through a lot of heavy edits. So it's had a lot of work done on it, and I'm at the point where the book is very polished. So I'm ready to start sending it out soon. And I know with memoir, you don't always need a proposal, but often you do. So I just don't know if I need to take the extra, whatever amount of time it will take to update everything, like chapters have changed, things like that.
Well, yeah, I mean, they're going to ask for your proposal, and they're going to ask in your submission for who your audiences are, and they're going to ask pointed questions. They might not ask for a proposal using the word, but they're going to ask for all the elements of a proposal that you're going to need to cut and paste from somewhere. And so I would take the time, and I'm not saying months. I'm saying take 2 weeks. Hop into my course. I mean, my thumb will be all over your proposal. Most of the people I work with already have a draft proposal, and they think, oh, I have this draft, or I paid this amount of money for this draft. And well, it's not sharp enough. And a memoir proposal oftentimes doesn't need chapter summaries. So don't worry about that, because you have a synopsis. So there are faster ways to do everything, but I would make sure that proposal is ready to go, because the agent can't send out your book on submission until they have a proposal, which means the overview, which is written just like the book description on Barnes & Noble, with with that hook language.
Thank you. That's helpful. I hadn't heard the part about you don't need the chapter summaries, so that's really helpful.
Sometimes you don't. I mean, like Sam, when I send him, I often send him, things that I think are right for him. And he turns them right around and says, we're going to go out on mission next week, which is not uncommon when you've already answered the questions you know they're going to ask. Sam is a special character because he really understands how to develop an author's career and guide them. But then what happens is that author comes back to me and says, okay, Sam says we have to do this. Like, yeah, of course he does. You need to, start talking about this. Or writing here. Let's build your platform. Sam puts you in the direction, and I make sure that you get there. But a lot of other agents aren't going to work with you on that. But Sam's incredible. He does, and the people who work for him do, or with him. They're all. He selects his agents very carefully. So, I like him a lot. And we only met once in person. And look at this. We're doing events on the regular. All right. Listen, folks, don't be a stranger. Don't lament solo. If you need something, you have to ask for it. If you don't ask, you don't get. And, my office is in the basement. I spend my days alone. So if you don't ask, I'm just talking to myself and the dog. So just think of it as you're doing me a favor by reaching out. Okay. I want to see you succeed. I want to see your books in the world. I don't want to see the same old, but I would rather see something new. Whether it's a novel that's based on true events or your, fantasy, your fairy fantasy, which I also read those because who doesn't? I want to see them. And I want to see, books get into middle schools. And keep in mind that public schools are required to have an equal amount of nonfiction and fiction. So if you're if you're thinking, well, I've always I wanted to write nonfiction for, seventh graders, do it. There's a big market. There's a big gap and an opening there. There's no reason why you can't. And there's always a way. Thank you again for being here. I can't wait to see what you do next. I swear I will send you the replay tomorrow. It'll be up for a couple of days if you want to watch with gifts and a coupon code. All right. Thanks, guys. Good night.